Hey, Becoming Me. I am so excited to introduce you to my warrior friend, Taylor. Taylor, welcome to Becoming Me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my goodness, I am so honored. You are such an encouragement to me on social media. And one of my favorite things right now, I have to tell y'all, is Happy Mail with Tay. Because your weekly email is so fun and how you round up just different things that you're loving, resources. Like, I love your email newsletter. I'll have that link in the show notes so people could subscribe, but I just
Thank
love it.
you. That makes me so happy. Honestly, it's like a little piece of encouragement like that that helps me keep doing it. And so I'm so thankful for you sharing that.
Well, thank you for the work that you put into it every week. I think at the time that we're recording your podcast, I think it was yesterday or recently, you posted on your Insta story how you were working on, the upcoming Happy Mail Day. And I was like, oh, you branded it so perfectly too, because it does feel like Happy Mail.
Thank you. Yeah, that was literally last night, like 8:30 p.m. I probably should not have been working on it at that hour, but it's okay. We're doing the best we can.
Hey, well, at least you can be encouraged that this girl, Emily in Florida, is reading it. She gets happy when she reads it, and I love it. So thank you for putting the work in.
Absolutely. That's all that matters.
Yes. So people who are listening, watching, they're like, okay, Happy Mail with Tay. I see Taylor. She looks so cool. I haven't met her yet. Emily's hyping her up. Like, who is Taylor? Take a minute and introduce yourself.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, truly, for having me as a guest. It's an honor. Well, I'm from a teeny town in Alabama, actually. And yeah, I was honestly, it feels like I was born with this love for fitness. I asked for a Barbie workout video and I was in kindergarten and fast forward to high school, I was running cross country and we have this pasture beside my house with cows and we just didn't even have a gym in my hometown. So I would just practice my cross country pace in the field with the cows and it was a blast. And then I went to college and my first job that summer before my freshman year was as a fitness attendant at the gym on campus. And then I got certified to be a group fitness instructor and then a personal trainer. And then I started competing in bodybuilding and then moved to Tampa after college to pursue a career in bodybuilding and personal training and ended up starting my own personal training company and moved to Austin as a live-in personal trainer and then ended up in Nashville throughout the COVID chaos. I was mentioning this to you before we were recording, but just craving to be closer to home, somewhere with Southern hospitality, and so a resourceful city in Nashville just really hit the spot. But I will say, all of that being said, it's really hard to not associate who I am with what I do, and I feel like that is it will bring me to tears thinking about it because I feel like that is a lot of what I'm learning with my relationship with the Lord right now. Such a long-winded answer to your question, but I feel like I need to share this. Last year,
Mhm.
my word of the year was dance, and truly, I didn't realize how much change would occur last year, and I felt like the word being dance was such encouragement for me to keep my eyes locked on Jesus, just
Mhm.
eyes locked on him and trust that he would lead the way and he would show me the steps I needed to take and what I needed to do. And I've truly never repeated a word 2 years in a row. I wasn't really ready to give up dance. But what I realized is that it's no longer a dance because I need Jesus to tell me what to do, but more so that I truly am craving and desperate and eager to understand more of his love for me
Mhm.
and to just be and enjoy and rest in who I am as his daughter and that being enough. So all that to say, you asked who am I, and I wear a lot of hats. I'm a daughter of parents in a teeny town in Alabama, and a sister and an aunt to four incredible little kiddos. And I get to be the personal trainer to so many incredible women and lead community events here in Nashville. And there are a lot of things that I do and a lot of titles that I get to share. But mostly I'm trying to learn just to be loved as a daughter and that being enough.
Oh my goodness. I love how you just introduced yourself. And I couldn't resonate with that more. Like, I truly, one of the things I love about the word becoming is I feel like often when we ask people, like, oh, who are you? We start with the things that we do, which isn't who we are. It's a byproduct of who we are, right? But it is not our definition or our identity. And so I love that you unpacked that. And before I ask you about your story, I'm curious, is dance your word for 2025 as well?
Yeah, the Lord is so funny. I really am like, Jesus, we had so much fun with that one last year. Like, I'm just really not ready to give it up. But have you ever read Captivating? It's
No.
female version of Wild at Heart. It's the one for women, John
Uh-huh.
Eldridge and Stacy.
Hmm.
Um, I call her Stacy like I know her. But in that book I was reading on my drive
Hmm.
home before New Year's, right after Christmas,
Hmm.
and she's talking about the different levels of faith. And one of the levels is dancer, and the next level is a lover. And her explaining it in that context, I was like, huh, that's sweet. But like, I don't actually want lover to be my word of the year. And I don't really want it to be love. I'm like, Lord, we're way too mature of a Christian for the word love to be my word of the year. So I don't know if the Lord is still working on me and humbling
Okay.
me in this way, but in my mind and heart, it's still dance until
Okay.
he really softens my heart to change it.
I love it. And isn't that such a dance too? The ebb and the flow and guiding. And so, I mean, I feel like it's totally appropriate. I love that.
Ask me in July.
Yeah, I will. No, that's so cool. Thanks for sharing that. And you radiate joy. Like truly, when I followed you on social media, even just chatting with you before we recorded, like there's just a joy that comes off of you, like truly. And so I know that you have an incredible story. And I would love for you to just take some time and unpack what has made you who you are today.
Yeah. Thank you. By the way, it means a lot. Um, Gosh, I'll be 32 in March, and so there's been a lot to the story. If I'm being honest, I was raised in church, uh, but a lot of performance based relationship with the Lord. If I'm doing good, if I don't make mistakes, then we're good. Um, and life has happened. I feel like everybody has a hard piece of their story, and there have been several hard things that have helped me become
Yeah.
the person that I am. And man, there's so many directions I could go as far as sharing an example of that, whether it be career things I've navigated in my career, or really hard breakup, or like my parents' divorce. Like there are many hard things, and I guess
Mhm.
with that being said, I would say it's probably the hard things that have helped shape me the most. And
Mhm.
my brother, oh, I love him so much and respect him just more than words can
Mhm.
say. And he would not be excited that I'm sharing this, but because he's so humble. But
Mhm.
he shared with me one thing that he really stands by is that everything we have is a gift from the Lord. Everything. It's just ours to steward on behalf of his
Mhm.
glory. And I don't know that he technically meant it in this context, but lately I've really began to realize that everything is a gift, period. Even the hard things that we're going through, even the
Mhm.
hard circumstances. And even though it hurts and even though it sucks,
Mhm.
it really is working out for our good and the Lord's glory. Doesn't mean that the Lord's not good. And so, yeah, I feel like mm, I have become me because of the really hard things that I've gotten to go through with the Lord. And it's in those seasons that I've grown to know him more intimately, which I'm so grateful for. And
Mhm.
it honestly makes me really reverent of when times are simple and easy, because my dependence on the
Mhm.
Lord doesn't grow as strong.
Mhm.
Um, but as far as who I am, it's been such a journey. with
Mhm.
the Lord. And I will say, like, I've been so blessed to have the most incredible family and the most
Mm.
incredible friends. And I know that I wouldn't be who I am without them in my corner. But to sum all of it up, I really think it's navigating hard things with the Lord that has um, created this resilience or um, a perseverance, if you will. To it's learning to trust Him more than anything. It's more trusting His love for me um, over fear.
Yeah. Oh, that's so powerful. Like, and thank you for unpacking that because I think it's easy for us to maybe know that, but then to hear that from a fellow warrior who really, and when I say you exude joy, like I truly mean that. Like every time I see you pop up on social media and even just talking with you, I think joy, like immediately. And joy comes from you coming out the other side of all of those hard things. And what an encouragement that is for all of us that, like, if Taylor can journey through and learn how to trust God through the really hard, challenging things and come out on the other side and literally say, like, I'm becoming me because I'm trusting God through these things, that encourages me and those watching to be like, I can do this too. It's like, thank you for sharing that.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. Great
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. I'm curious, and I feel like I've probably seen this online, but I've got to know, like, I know you're a coffee drinker and you like hand make it, right?
Oh, yeah. That is,
Okay.
like, my favorite part of the day is manual coffee labor. Like,
Oh.
I don't you will not catch me pressing a button of any sort. I really prefer French press, but
Mm,
I chipped my little French press and it broke just a couple of weeks ago, so
no.
I've been really sad about that. However, I also have a Chemex, so I can do
Okay.
a pour over. So I pulled the Chemex back out and I'm rekindling my relationship with her. But my number one choice is a
Oh,
French press. I just really love like I'm in my 30s now, so this is
mhm.
probably a true testament of my age. But I don't love jumping out of bed and hitting the ground running. Like I really
Yeah.
need something to make me slow down. And it's such an intentional process where I can
Mhm.
boil the water, grind the beans, steep them. Like, it's just like
Oh,
very
yes.
it's a beautiful way to start the day. Like, it's my favorite. Are you a coffee drinker?
Oh, yes, 100%. I have like a really nice espresso machine. So I do push a button, but it like grinds the beans and it's like one really fresh cup of coffee. It's so good. I love
Uh,
starting my day that way.
yeah, it's the best.
It is the best. So if you were having a really well-made French press cup of coffee with a fellow warrior friend and you're both talking about life, what would you say to encourage them to become who God made them to be?
Oh, wow, such a good question. Um, well, ultimately, I don't know if it comes back to understanding more of like us being unattached to doing and it's being. And one thing in particularly that I've been trying to do lately to help practice this is like being more mindful when I'm eating and I'm single. And so I imagine when I do have a family, which also makes me cry because just like yeah, I long for that and I am doing my best to prepare for that.
Mhm.
But I often think like, when I get off of work in the evenings and I do have a husband, what would I be doing and trying to practice that ahead of
Mm,
time? And one thing that I really love to do is just sit and practice talking to Jesus as though he is the best person in the world I could be talking to. And so having coffee with a friend to encourage her, which it's so much easier said than done. So I'm sharing that example because I'm really doing my best to try this myself. But like truly praying through everything and getting to
Mhm.
know Jesus. I truly believe you become who you spend time with. And the more we spend time with him, and there's a book by Brother Lawrence, but it's practicing the presence of God and just becoming prayerful in everything.
Mhm.
And so as I'm cutting up my dinner for the evening or on a walk or making my
Mhm.
coffee or looking at the clouds, is truly being more aware of his
Yeah.
presence. And as we spend more time with him, it's inevitable that we become like him. And truly, I don't think it's any. I recently had a conversation with my mom, and I was like, "I'm just trying so hard." And she's like, "That's the thing. I think you're trying so hard, and
Mhm.
it's not that complicated." And so I think often we try so hard to become what we think
Mhm.
we're supposed to be becoming, when ultimately it comes from a posture of rest and knowing who Jesus is, and we mold into who we're supposed to be because we're focused more on him than ourselves.
Mhm.
And that's even something I've been more aware of and convicted about, honestly, is that, like, in the Lord's Prayer, it says, "Your kingdom come and your will be done." And I think often we're so concerned with what we
Mhm.
think the kingdom is like, or too self focused on our own kingdom, quote unquote. And so I've been convicted by that, like, Lord, what is actually your kingdom? What does it actually look like for your kingdom to come? And help me to be so much less focused on my own kingdom, because yours
Mhm.
is so much better than mine. But yeah, this knowing him more, being more intimate with him, and as a byproduct, we become who we're supposed to be.
Oh, I love that. And I received that. Like, that's encouragement for me. I'm 33, I'm single as well. And so I love how you are even like, you know what? I'm kind of thinking through and practicing coming home from work and like, what would I be doing? But then I'm having a conversation with Jesus right there. And that's so practical and encouraging. Like, thank you for unpacking that for us. And, Taylor, do you have time for one more question before we begin to wrap up? Okay. So in your story, you talked through the gift of really the hard times, right? And that they've really shaped you to who you are. For the person who's watching or listening and they're in their hard time right now, and they're like, I definitely rationally I'm with you, Taylor, I get it. What's something that you could equip them with while they're in it? And it's so hard to have that perspective that it's a gift, to be able to embrace it and become through it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally does. And I will say my counselor would agree with me in this. A flaw of mine is to pretend like nothing bad is happening. And
Me
the
too.
side of the side of me that wants to be sad, or
Mhm.
side of me that wants to be disappointed, or just have a minute to lay on the couch and feel a little funky. I'm
Mhm.
really good at shoving her in the closet, and until she kicks and screams and tries to burn
Yes.
down the house, and ultimately sends me into a spiral. So with that example, I lead with that to say, I hear you and I see you. And if you are the girl who is going through the hard time, being able to give yourself permission to take those emotions to Jesus and understanding that He can handle them, is something that I'm trying to learn myself.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, you hear a lot of people talk about David and how honest he was, and even hearing people say David was so honest, and it's still hard for me to feel like that's okay. But ultimately, we're human.
Mhm.
And another example I'll give is it was a couple weeks ago, I dropped this jar of mustard. I love mustard,
Mhm.
and dropped it at Whole Foods. And I just felt like a 5-year-old kid. It was at the cash register, and the cashier said, "Honey," I just kept apologizing because I just hate making mistakes. And she said, "Honey, that just means you're human." And that really stuck with me too. It's like, in the
Mhm.
hard time, giving yourself permission to be honest about your feelings,
Mhm.
it just means you're human. And so if you're struggling to be honest with that, I'll say just making space to allow yourself to feel those things. I'm a big journaler, so I
Mhm.
write a lot. Even if I feel myself getting worked up throughout the day,
Mhm,
if something triggering happens, I will sit down with my journal and write it out. It just helps me to process.
mhm,
But also having some tools in the tool belt, like what are some things that really help you to regulate? Like we are mind,
mhm,
body, and spirit. And so there are things physically, like I know if I can go for a walk or journal, if I can go to the sauna,
mhm,
like, if I can wash my hair, there are just little things of, like,
mhm,
tangibly that you can do rather than just, like, sitting in it. So the first thing is, like, be okay with feeling the feels, but don't sit there.
mhm,
Um, and so practically speaking, like, have some little happies, I call them for my life coaching clients, cup fillers. Like, what are things that bring you a lot of joy?
mhm,
And creating space for those things and margin for
mhm,
those things. And obviously, and for whatever reason, I know it's harder to be in the word when you're going through a hard time. Um, and if that's you and you don't feel compelled to open the word in this moment, I would say starting with the Psalms and just starting in chapter one.
mhm,
For a while, I would just read one chapter a day and journal a little after and just um, also not rushing it, like, I just feel like it's such a just
mhm,
ride the wave, and
mhm,
it's just that one step at a time, one day at a time process, but those would be my 3 is, letting yourself give yourself
mhm,
permission to feel a little, grumpy if you want.
mhm,
Don't sit there, have some practical
mhm,
things that you can do to pull yourself,
mhm,
physically out of that. And then the third thing is definitely, even if you don't feel like it, open the word.
mm. So good. Thank you. Thank you for speaking to that girl who is right there. You gave us such practical, tangible truths that we can really take and step forward with. And, if somebody was watching or listening to your story and they're like, man, I really want to connect with Tayler. I know you have programs and you have so many different things. Like, tell us a little bit about what you do, how people can connect with you, all the things.
Yeah, I love it. I am a personal trainer in Nashville. I would love to be able to personal train everyone in the world, and that's just not practical. So I did create a couple of different programs for the girl who wants Tay in her pocket and can't be in Nashville. So there's a weight training one and an at-home Pilates fusion one. So those are practical workout programs. I do also offer virtual coaching, but now, I haven't officially announced this on social media yet, but I am opening a private personal training studio in the Hot Pilates studio that we're opening with or my friend Kenzie is opening, and I am the program specialist for that studio. And so the personal training space will be in there. And so I will not for a little bit be taking new clients to work with one-on-one with me, but training
Mhm,
other trainers to take clients. And so, yeah, lots of different
mhm,
ways to get connected, but I'm most active on Instagram.
mhm.
But obviously there I have a contact form on my website as well and a happy mail that's also a tool. So lots of different there's email, Instagram, programs, it probably other ways too that I'm not thinking of at the moment.
Well, we'll include all the links in the show notes so people can easily click and connect with you. And congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank
I'm so proud of
you.
you.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Absolutely. Well, Taylor, thank you so much for sharing your story, who you are, who you're becoming. You are such a gift, and I'm just cheering you on big time. Thank you.
Thank you.